Before we all get to blotto, I would like to say a few words. Good evening. What a real pleasure it is to be here with all of you as we celebrate this reunion of our third form class. 66 years ago, we began at Hutt Valley High School. Most of us came from Hutt Intermediate, while some came from Wainuiomata, Eastbourne, Petone, Nainai and elsewhere.
Dipton.
Somewhere else?
Dipton.
Dipton. Okay. Dipton. So the boys wore long socks, black shorts and caps, while the girls wore black tunics that fell below the knee, along with berets. Somehow or other, we all gelled together, and so began our high school journey 66 years ago. When people hear 66 years ago, it sounds like ancient history. So long ago that some of our grandchildren probably imagine we went to school before electricity was invented. A few may even struggle to believe we rode there on bicycles. But here we are, still standing, still smiling, and still able to recognise one another without checking our name tags, which we don't have. When we first met as third formers, we were young, energetic, and convinced that adulthood would be easy. We thought our teachers were old, our parents didn't understand us, and the future stretched endlessly before us. Looking around the room tonight, I'm reminded of how much has changed and how much remains the same. The hairstyles may be different. Some hairstyles may have become memories. The waistlines may have expanded a little, and the knees may occasionally protest when we stand up. But the laughter, the friendships, and the spirit that brought us together all those years ago are still very much alive. Back in the third form, we worried about exams, homework, sports, dances, and whether we would ever amount to anything. If someone had told us about the lives we would lead, the places we would travel, the families we would raise, the careers we would pursue, and the challenges we would overcome, we would probably have laughed in disbelief. Yet each person here has a story, and together those stories tell the remarkable tale of a generation that witnessed extraordinary change. We have lived through the arrival of television, jet travel, computers, the internet and smartphones. We have seen men walk on the moon, and technology advanced beyond anything our teachers would have imagined. And through it all, we learned some valuable lessons. We learned that success is measured by much more than grades. We learned that true friendship can last decades and distance. We learned that life rarely follows the plan we drew up when we were 13 or 14. And perhaps most importantly, we learned that growing older is unavoidable, but growing up remains optional. Tonight is not just about remembering the past, it is also about celebrating the present. We are fortunate to be surrounded by people who share a special chapter in our lives. As we renew old friendships and share stories that somehow grow better with each telling, let us be grateful for the journey that brought us here. 66 years ago, we were simply classmates. Today, we are custodians of a shared history, witnesses to one another's lives, and members of a very special community. So let us raise a glass to friendship, to memories, to laughter, and to the enduring bonds formed in the third form all those years ago. And let us look forward to our next reunion. After all, by then we'll finally be old enough to know what we want to be when we grow up. So let's have a toast to us, to our success and our friendship. So before we go too much further, I'd like to take a moment to remember the classmates who are no longer with us. So as I read the names that I have on my list, please take a moment to reflect on each one of them in no particular order. Michael Quirk, Len Lowry, Paddy Stevens, Dorothy Smith, Phil Hale, Tony Dickinson, Celia Beckett, David Shearer, Rosemary Booth, Ross Witcher. They're the names I have on my list. Are there any other third formers that anyone remembers and would like to mention at this time?
Ross Gooder.
Ross Gooder, another name from the past. Anybody else?
Does anyone know what happened to Graham Nelson?
I don't.
Neil McTaggart.
Neil McTaggart, he's alive, and I've reached out to him. He's in Palmerston North, I think. He was coming, but then he's got some health issues, so he wasn't able to make it. John Heenan also was coming, but he declined at the last minute. Phil Coveney also declined. Who else? Ian Penrose. He's shifting house. He's in Coromandel. Paul. Sorry? Helen Darnell is in England. Alison Smith came from England to here, and Helen Darnell took her place in England. Anybody else?
Was Paul Winter coming?
Paul Winter should be here, and Barry Brown and Colleen will be here shortly. They're on their way. I think that Claire Heenan is coming. Alan Benj is coming, supposedly. Graham Baldwin did not want to come. Heather Robson did not want to come. That's fine. We all have our circumstances. All right. Well, now just to bring things back to the moment, I'm going to invite 4 randomly, carefully selected classmates to give a brief presentation on some anecdote, some memory they have of Hope Valley High School. And in deference to her status as our head prefect, I'm going to start with Lynn. So Lynn, the floor is yours. 1 minute starting now.
Following the take about it. But I was quite surprised to hear you mention David Shearer, because it's David Shearer that I'm going to talk about. Most of you will remember when we were in the 4th form, we were in the upstairs classroom, and we were all in these rows, and David Shearer used to sit in front of me. And we had a maths teacher, can anyone remember his name? Mr. Sampson.
Yeah.
Mr. Sampson was very gruff, and he really knew what he was doing. But David didn't like maths very much, and so he used to really mess around when maths class was on. And I can remember Mr. Sampson getting a piece of chalk and firing it at David. And he got the shock of his life because it was so accurate. So that was my recollection that I just couldn't forget. The other one I mentioned to Peter the other day is not to do with any other member of our class, but I can remember when we were about the 4th form, they used to put on a concert at the end of each year, well, the seniors did, and Peter's brother Nathan was one of the 4 Sydneys that danced across the stage to the Dance of the Little Swans in the ballet. And I don't know if he had ballet shoes on actually, or whether he just had bare feet. But it really was, it brought the house down. Thank you, Peter.
Well done, Lynn. So another random selection is our former Ducks. Tom, 5 minutes in your case.
No. I was just going to do 30 seconds. I came from Korokoro School, which was a very small primary school, and I was totally overwhelmed when I got to Hutt Valley High. There were so many people there, and I don't think I ever really adjusted throughout my whole time there, and it wasn't until I left school that I realised how I was just one of these people that faded into the background in most things, I think. I didn't take part in very much. I didn't take part in sport. I did play tennis, but very badly. I suppose my abiding memory of school was our Latin teacher, Bangai Davidson. He was Latin for 2 years and maths for 1 year. And he was an inspiration to me. He was by far the best teacher I ever had any time in my life. And I loved Latin. I know a lot of you didn't, but I did. I did. And in the fifth form, we had, this was when he was teaching us maths, we had 2 French, I don't know if you remember, we had 2 French. They were the son and daughter of the ambassador, and they came and spent a year with us. Well, I'm not sure if it's a full year, but certainly part of a year with us. And they played up quite a bit in the class, and especially in French. They were absolutely hopeless at French, even though they were French. But I remember, and this raised a laugh at the time, probably not that funny now, but I remember Mr. Davidson saying to them, he spoke to them in French, and then he said, if you keep on doing that, you'll be à la carte. So, that's sort of my memories of school. I remember Joe Dent getting his leg broken in a game of scrag, which we weren't supposed to be playing, and various other misdemeanours, me hitting a cricket ball through a window. That didn't go down very well with our teachers, but also some of our teachers were fairly, I think they were still reliving their wartime, because some of them were fairly brutal when it came to giving you the strap, which I'm sure we all had, but I had a lot more than most probably. So that was my school days. I was glad to get out, I have to say, but it's nice to catch up with all you people again.
And those school reports, the one-liners.
Peter, can I just say one thing? With Davidson in mind, I remember in the 5th form year when the exam results came out, and he said, "Where's Brett Newell?" He said, "How can anybody be top in English and history and bottom in Latin?" And I've never forgotten. He was a wonderful teacher.
He was.
All right, we're now moving to the...
I turned 17 in my last year at school in the 7th form in May, and I was probably just about the youngest 7th former, and I was so pleased to be 17, and we went into assembly, and Stan always had these very formal assemblies and no one dared blink an eye or say anything, and the prefects, the boy prefects, all stood up and sang the Beatles, which was in favour at the time. She was just 17, you know. And he absolutely was ropeable, but he didn't like to ask just the prefects to stand up because that would have been horribly dishonourable to be in the prefect. So he asked that all the 7th formers had to stand up for the rest of that assembly because they'd been very un-PC at the very assembly. So.
Great, thanks Lou. Round of applause. Senior Counsel.
I chose this anecdote because first you were all there, and I'll guarantee that when the telling about it, you won't remember this. And second,
This is in the archives for 2075.
and the second reason is that the memory of this anecdote for me is reminiscent of quite a lot of my memories at Dudley High. Anyway, it was the final of the senior school debating competition, and the Pies Cup was at stake, and it was Kyle and McRae against Newell and Jones, Warren Jones. And I can't remember the topic, but we were on the affirmative. So I spoke, and that went reasonably well, I thought. And then Brett spoke, and he was very good. Pete spoke. He also was very good. I can't say even better, but very good. And then Jain, and they were all excellent. And then I came to give my reply, and I prepared some points, anticipating what Brett and Warren might say. But a new point had arisen, and I was thinking about it as I, prepared to rise to give my reply, and I made a very poor job of integrating a reply to that point, which was a key point, and the points that I'd already prepared. So anyway, I sat down and I thought, oh God, McRae blown mad. Anyway, to my surprise, Mr. Atkinson, who was the judge, Judge Kylan McRae, the winner. And then he invited Stan Ransom to come up to the stage and say a few words. And so Mr. Ransom approached the stage in his usual manner with his nose in the air, faced everyone, it was a senior assembly, and said, yes, well, that debate wasn't up to the standard of the debates in previous years, and I've got some announcements to make. First of all, there's too many boys are running in the corridors, and secondly, the deliveries of school milk to the front gate will be suspended for 2 days next week. Now, I can't remember exactly that those were exactly the words he said, but it was words to that effect. Anyway, the second reason that makes me think of that is that, as I say, it does remind me of a lot of my memories of school where there was a degree of achievement, but a very strong element of could have done better.
Well, I'll just go last and then we'll have a break. I want to pick up on Lynn and Tom, David Shearer and Mr. Davidson. Bangai Davidson.
Yes, Bangos Bangai, masculine.
Sorry?
Bangos Bangai, masculine.
Oh, okay. So I had Mr. Davidson every year. I was at Hutt Valley High. Like you, I had him in Latin, 3rd and 4th form. I had him for maths in the 5th form, for Latin in the 6th form, and I had Latin in 6A. I don't know whether anybody else had one teacher every year. And when I think about that, he watched me grow from a 3rd former to a 6th former. What an amazing experience that would be for a teacher. But what I wanted to say is, in our last year, I had the distinction of coming 2nd in Latin. I was pretty impressed, except that there were only 2 in the class.
David Shearer come top?
David Shearer came top. And Mr. Davidson had, because of his seniority, he had an office in the middle at the top floor of the old building, had his own room. He was a king of quiz. He had lots of books in his room, an amazing man. And we'd have Latin every day, and I'd go to the class, and he would sit on this side, and David Shearer would sit on that side. And I to this day, I never quite worked out which eye to look at. And I did more homework. Latin was more demanding than any other subject. David Shearer never seemed to do any homework whatsoever. He was just a natural for languages. And as I said, I struggled, and I'd come to class, and David, without any preparation, recited the Latin homework. It was infuriating. So that's my memory of Mr. Davidson and David Shearer. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back in half an hour. There'll be another carefully selected, randomly chosen group of 4. You all had time to prepare. This has all been recorded, and it'll be deposited in the National Archives. So we're looking for some really superior performances. All right, take a break and enjoy.
Once upon a time there was a tavern where we used to raise a glass or two. Remember how we laughed away the hours. Think of all the great things
1964.
Yes.
Wow.
And what was the second question?
Okay, maybe. When did you meet last time, Peter?
I can't remember. We'd met a few times over the years, but it's more than 20 years ago.
More than 20 years. Wow, fantastic. And what is your, if I ask you, describe your school in one word?
Authoritarian.
Wow, that's a good one. Thank you so very much.
That's okay.
Well, I think somehow or other we gelled together in the third form, and 66 years later, we still have gelled together. And I think that's a remarkable tribute, both to the personalities involved and to the school that we went to. It sort of encouraged camaraderie, and so I think it's rather special. We met on the 25th anniversary, the 50th, the 75th, and now the 100th, which is really quite remarkable. So,
Fantastic. And another question is, if I ask you, describe your school in one word.
awesome.
Beautiful.
I loved school. I did well. I had good teachers. I had good classes. I had a lot of sport. I really can't think of anything that I hated about the school. If I really tried, I'd probably find a few teachers I wasn't so keen on. But I have very fond memories of Hat Valley High School, and I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to be part of the school.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
Oh my God, this looks
All
official.
right. Okay. Describe your school days in one word.
A lot of fun.
Exciting, I was going to say. Exciting.
Yeah, good. We need both of you different answers. Your answers, okay? All right, okay. What is your first memory that pops in your head when you think back your school days?
Uniforms.
Uniforms, beautiful.
I think of battling my way through as a third former, getting my cap ripped off me by the
Did they
fourth
take
formers.
those?
Yeah, they rip your hat off. That's not the first thing I think of. But we had, and some of the kids getting thrown down the rubbish bin in the rubbish bin.
All right, all right.
And overall, I enjoy. I did lots of stuff, but not much schoolwork. Different to you, eh?
Yeah. I was a student.
And any commentary about Peter?
About what?
Peter, who is
Well, just the fact that he brings us together every 10 years or 15 years.
alright. So the Peter is the glue
He's the
between.
catalyst. Yeah, gets us
He's an
together.
amazing guy, actually. Yeah, really impressed.
Yeah. Bringing us together, really. Searching people's emails and tracking people down.
That
You need somebody
every
to do
group
that,
needs
don't you?
one person like that,
That's
so that
right.
group
It's
will.
got the enthusiasm. Yeah, absolutely.
This wouldn't have happened without Peter.
No. There wouldn't be this many here. Because to have this many all these years after we finished school, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Oh yeah, thank you, Peter,
Okay, thank you.
and thank you guys. Thank you so very much.
Right.
Have a nice evening. Describe your school in one word. First you.
Big.
Yeah, overwhelming initially. Yeah.
All right. Okay, and what about you?
Big.
Big. All right. Okay. Okay. What is your first memory that pops in your head when you think back about your school?
Oh, lots of good friends.
Also good friends. That's
My first day. My first day.
all right. Beautiful. Nice. Nice. Any comment about Peter?
He was destined for great things from a very young age, I felt. Yeah.
He's always been a bit of a handful, but he's come right.
Oh, nice. And last, what does it feel like celebrating 100 years of school history tonight?
Well, we weren't there 100 years ago, but feels like it sometimes.
Makes me feel young.
All right. Thank you so very much, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you.
The advantage of living in one house for 50 years. I hate to think when we move out. But anyway, look, a story that I've got, I never fancied myself as a singer or anything, but in what is now called the 7th form, there was the 3rd form dance or end of year function, and the prefects had to do some of the organisation of it. And I remember Patsy Stevens, Roger Martin and myself formed, and Roger had his guitar, and we formed a little group that sang a song, and the song was, oh no, don't let the rain come down, oh no, don't let it the rain, something like, the roof's got a hole in it and I might drown. So anyway, and I think we must have been reasonably good. We sang this song, and then a number of the 3rd formers came up. That was good. And I'll never forget, one came up and said, were you really singing that, or was there a record in the background? Because I think it was shortly after the Kingston Trio or one of those groups had sung the actual song. We said, no, it was us. And it's probably the first and last time I've ever sung a song. But I think it went across quite well. And unfortunately, both of those people, Pat Stevens and Roger Martin, died relatively young. And just thinking of Roger's family, his younger brother Bruce Martin, who was a very good rugby player, died very young as well. His elder sister, I can't remember her name, but Vivian, she had died young. So the whole 3 of that family were probably all dead before they were 60, give or take. Sad. Another thing that was, to fill out my 1 minute, something that I used to enjoy. That expired 2 weeks ago. Ross Witcher and I were playing in the rugby team, and we used to, both of us, perhaps one day a week, we'd bike down to my house in Petone, which was near the Petone Recreation Ground, with our school rugby ball, and we'd go over to the Petone Rugby Ground and practice kicking, touch kicking and goal kicking and this, that and the next thing. But it's just a happy memory really of my school times, and perhaps non-academic activities, which are probably more appropriate for me to talk about than academic activities. Thanks very much.
Great, thanks,
yeah.
The charge doesn't flow.
All right. So who else was volunteered?
I'll volunteer. Peter's the start.
1 minute. Okay, Barry.
1 minute.
Bell for Barry Brown.
I want to just think about a mutual friend, David Shearer. Now, we haven't been able to track him down, Peter, have we? But the interesting thing I remember about Peter, we were at 4L1, I believe, and we were in this upper story with Ailsa Carrow, who was the teacher that scared the hell out of us. But it was a mid-summer afternoon, it was hot, and everybody should walk around the school through under the thing on the 6th form week, and I can remember David deciding that he was going to go. So he went down to the toilets and he filled up a paper bag with water, and he rushed down to the thing, and of course he had open windows, and down there people were walking around, and he would eye them up and throw this water out, and down it would go, splat, water everywhere. So this was fine, and he did it twice. And the third time, the bell had gone and the teacher was late. And he was just there and Mrs. Kerr walked in. So he's sitting up here and it's a not plastic bags, we hadn't got to those yet. These are in fact paper bags, reasonably well crafted, but full of water. But after a while, the water gets through the area. So he put it on the floor. And slowly, the bag broke down. And slowly, the water leaked onto the floor. Remember, these are wooden boards. And halfway through the lesson, a teacher came up, knocked on and said, "Excuse me, Mrs. Harris, is there a plumbing problem up here? There's water coming through the ceiling." And everyone looked at David Shearer, and David Shearer looked at everybody else, and he admitted that he had, in fact, done this thing. And he was down the road to see Mr. Ramsden, I recall. But that was what happened when, David used to look a lot towards the classics, and Sue and others went off to the French classes. But he never thought very much about science. He had no respect at all for people who did science, people like me and Tom Spear and a few others. But he didn't understand about the fact that water affects craft paper and the tensile strength of it reduces over time and eventually it ruptures. All right, and that's what happened. And David never said what Mr. Ramsden said, because no one ever used to tell anybody what Mr. Ramsden said to them. But that's what happened. That was my 1 minute and a half minute story.
So a couple more volunteers. Michael.
I remember Harvey Hunter. I think it would be fair to say he was fairly socially awkward. And there was a big boxing match on, Muhammad Ali versus somebody else, and there was a sweepstake arranged. And there were 15 rounds and 30 options as to who would win when. And we got to 29 of them had all filled. And the last one, Harvey hadn't entered at all. We put his name, he was talked into allowing us to put his name in. And I don't know what the score was, it doesn't matter what else. But the whole 29 others of us thought, he's the bloody sucker for the job. He's, we've got his money, come what. What happens? He was the one that won the whole sweepstake and the rest of left in the mud.
Great, thanks, Michael. So we'll do 2 more, and then...
And so Colin's expertise in sporting events had particular interest to me. And the day that Colin first took to the first 11 to play cricket, he was walking out onto the wicket to play his first ball, and the bell went. And I thought, well, it's okay, I'll wait and watch. Guess who was on my shoulder? Mr. Stan Ramsden. And he says, off to class, as he does, with his nose in the air. And so I was with Richard Ponder, and we just zipped around the side of a class, one of the prefabs, to get a good view of the final time when I was going to be able to watch Colin play. Unfortunately, Stan followed us, and he said, "Don't bother going to class, go to my office." And Richard and I got 3 of the best with a cane.
I want you all to cast your minds back to 1961. The French rugby team was touring New Zealand, and the second test was looming, August the 5th. It's about 65 years almost to the day. And the rugby, the head honchos at the All Black headquarters were a bit worried. They thought this team's looking pretty jolly strong. So what on earth can we do to give the All Blacks the edge? And they sort of thought about it, and they thought, well, we could feed the French lots of really bad coffee, because that's something the French are very strong about. Or we could subject them to some Kiwis speaking French with Kiwi accents at them for a prolonged session. And so they thought, oh yes, that's what we'll do. The French rugby team is having their training run before the second test at the Hutt Valley High School grounds. So we can do something. Aha, Mrs. Carrott's French choir. We'll subject them to that. So singing French songs, ballads and ditties to the French rugby team and with their Kiwi accents. So it was, and that's what happened. Well, that's pretty much all lies. What really happened was that the rugby French, the Les Bleus, did practice at Hutt Valley High School. They did have an afternoon tea afterwards. Madame Carrad's French choir sang beautifully with beautiful accents. She was an amazing but scary French teacher. And so it was quite a wonderful day. So, footnote, the French did lose 3-5.
Well done.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay with this? Because my voice has just about had it. Can you hear all right?
Yep, we can hear.
I'm telling a story that happened. It was really most amusing to us pupils. Now, I'm telling it about dear old Mrs. Carrot, because she was a brilliant bloody French teacher, and one day she had us all in a class and she said, we're not allowed to speak any English, and I want you to write a sentence describing the actions of our principal in the assembly this morning. Now you'll write it each on a piece of paper in French how you would say it. She then gave each of us a piece of paper, and then she just rushed up the front of the class, and this is what she did. It was a plywood teacher's chair with a bar across the front and a little wee stud at the back with a semicircular seat. And anyway, Mrs. Carrot, keeping an eye on us all writing, she went like this, then she sat down, boom, and the chair broke at the back, not at the front, at the back. And the seat went down like that, and Mrs. Carrot went in. And here she was. And she was, dear Mrs. Carrot, and she was squeaking. and everybody looked up, because they're all writing their French, they all looked up, and nobody moved. And Mrs. Carrot saying, help me! Help me! And then somebody, I think it might have been this lady here, said, Mrs. Carrot, you've got to speak in French. then she lost her temper, still stuck in the seat. And a whole lot of us chaps got up, and it was a very difficult job getting her out of the seat. We had to tip her over her like that. And then Mrs. Carrot was very flustered.
Well done. Thanks, John. All right.
You learned all those French expletives from John. Now I know.
All right, who's next? You had to go, Brett, your turn. You don't need don't need a microphone, but
Pretty hard to follow those speeches because I think it's so fascinating remembering some of these classic occasions at school. One of the things I was thinking about this afternoon is when I think he was a young Eton graduate came out from England, Brian Thornborough I think his name was. He was probably about 19 or 20. He was a graduate, came to the school. I think he was very sporty, very English. He went with the first 15 to the pub, the Woburn pub there, long from the school, and was asked to leave, but none of the team were asked to leave, who were all 16, but he was, and he was obviously 20 or 21. They said, you're definitely underage, so could you please leave? But they didn't throw all the boys out who were in the first 15. But I do recall that later, to pay him back for something, they took his MG sports car up the staircase and put it on the top floor of the old building and left it there, and he went out to the car park in the end of school day to look for his car and couldn't find it, and rummaged around. Someone said, "Oh, it's upstairs," and he said, "What do you mean it's upstairs?" And it was indeed upstairs, and of course he had to commandeer some of the lads to bring it down. It was that light he could actually handle it. I think tonight's been just terrific, getting everyone together. I think, Petey, we owe you a big debt of gratitude. When I told people you were planning all this from literally 15,000 kilometres away on the other side of the world in the US, and mind you, some excellent helpers locally who I know have been really good, but I think it's a real tribute that you got this all together and kept us together.
Barbara, would you like to say a few words? Grab the microphone.
Okay. Well, of course, I departed partway through our last year in school and went off on AFS to northern Los Angeles. And I can remember feeling very slack in those last few weeks. There doesn't seem to be a lot of point going to a lot of my classes. One day I was in the prefect's room and I was the only one there because everybody else had gone to class. And Mrs. Carrot opened the door. Maybe the door was open anyway. She went because her office was next door to the prefect's room. And she came past. She poked her head in and sort of said, "Oh, where are you meant to be?" And I can't remember. It was probably German or something like that. And then she just sort of said, "Oh yeah, just enjoy it." She went. So for me then I took off and spent my year at La Cañada High School. We were the first graduating class of that new school, and I still wear my American high school ring to this day. It was one of the advantages of being an AFS student that the schools were required on contract to provide us with their best quality ring, and there were 4 of them, and the gold one with the red stone, not a real ruby, was the one that they had to provide me with. And I felt so guilty because my sister of the family that I lived with wasn't allowed to have one. They couldn't afford it. I felt I should have given her mine, but I don't think she'd have worn it as much as I've worn mine, and still do it with enjoyment. The other thing about it was we were in sight of the Jet Propulsion Lab. We could see it from our school. We were the first graduating class of that. And the group of AFSs, there were about 12 of us that used to meet up a lot, and we were taken all sorts of places together, and one of them was we got a wander through. And I'm not sure that the first moon landing thing wasn't the one that we actually saw still being built at the time, because we were taken right through into the nitty-gritty of it. I doubt that they allow you to do that anymore. So that was a kind of looking back, is quite exciting to think that we did that. Okay.
Thanks, Barbara. Right, we're coming down to the dregs. Alan.
Well, my memories are more of 3 special, 4 special and 5 special, and you lot were the elite Latin lot. But one thing I do remember is the French classes. So we had Miss Scott. I don't know if anyone remembers Miss Scott. Yeah, I think she might have. But I always look forward to the French classes because Miss Scott would come in and she'd sit up the front of the class, and she had a rather brief skirt on her, and she would cross her legs, and about 20 hormonal lads would give a big sigh. But that's why French was my favourite subject.
Thanks, Alan. Let me introduce Colleen Brown, Barry's wife. Welcome, Colleen. All right, now we've got a few more who haven't spoken. Volunteers, Claire.
I don't know. Hi, I don't quite know. There's so many things that happen, but maybe I think the one I never forgot is when I went to, in the 6th form, just go to your classrooms, and I get there and there's 30 guys and me, because I took maths and mechanics and technical drawing, and I took the first seat in the door. And I spent the whole term, as soon as the bell rang, I went out and I went into the French class, the sixth form French class, and I'd spend all my period times with them. And I gather you were meant, I remember you weren't meant to go to another classroom during the morning break or the afternoon break. But no teacher ever told me to go back to my classroom, which really thrilled me. And I survived the year.
Well done. So can I ask you all to get up and come over here, and we'll have a group photo.